Okay. Some of you said you have blogs. You know anybody who's making money at blogs? I actually know a person who's making money, and I was like listening avidly because so many people have blogs, and I've actually thought about it. I've talked to a woman about designing a website, which is another thing. When you get to be a professional writer, you want a website. So I'm not a graphics person. I know you can do them, and I've played around with them, but I really thought I need professional help because I want this to be special. And I had actually thought about doing a blog, and I think I would really enjoy doing that. But I also know myself well enough to know that I would put a lot more time into it than I should. And I would end up writing blogs for no money as opposed to working on stuff that might get me money. So I've really decided, no, I'm just going to have a web presence, I'm going to have a website, and I may do a blog later because my ultimate goal at this point is I'm going to try to write a book. And if I write a book, then you need a platform, a different kind of platform. You need an audience. You need to go to a publisher and say, I already have an audience. You know, look at all these people that read my blog and they love me. And they'll buy my book. You know, that's what you need to get a book deal now. Well, I'm not at that point. I need to write the book first, you know. And if I'm spending time doing a blog, I'm not going to be writing a book. So I've decided to hold off on that. But the person who was making money, she is blogging for a law firm in Birmingham. And she goes to them, and they give her particular cases to write about. And the example she gave us was there's some kind of hay fever medicine that apparently has some horrible side effects. And this is kind of sleazy, but I mean, it pays. She takes that, she writes about it, and she posts it, and it's, you know, it's all PR stuff. So it's credited to like the CEO of the company. It doesn't have her name on it. And it'll be about how, if you've had this experience with this drug, call our law firm. We can help. You know, meaning we will sue the thing. So she writes that kind of stuff. Or the other thing, she said she goes to websites of, like, you know, chat rooms where people are talking about they've suffered these horrible indignities from taking this terrible medicine, and she'll lurk there, and then she'll say, oh, well, you should go to my law firm, and she gives them a link to her law firm to sue the company, and it's like, well, that's kind of sleazy. But it is a way to make money with blogging, you know. I mean, she's found a way, which I'm kind of impressed because, you know, somebody else told me they were doing a blog for the ads, and you can eventually, if you get enough hits, you can get Yahoo or whoever to advertise on there. But she also said, yeah, I think after about 3 months I make enough money to go splurge at Target. So it's not ever, I mean, I don't think it's ever going to be like big bucks. I think it's mostly a tool that you can use to better yourself as a writer and to, quote, build yourself a following if you want to be a book writer, and to show an editor that you have writing skills. So,
Cabot Creamery that I used to be on retainer with, they hire a blogger to be on retainer. They have a blog, and then people come on and say, oh, I just love that Cabot creamer, Cabot cheese. You know, does anybody know where I can find habanero? And then, of course, the blogger will do the research and say, oh, well, in your area, the habanero cheddar is at Food World or at Food City or blah, 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 blah. What do you use your habanero for? And the person says, oh, I use it for this, this, this. And they go, well, that's a really great recipe. Have you thought about going to the Cabot website? Because one of their big issues for Cabot is driving people to the website. Have you thought about going to the Cabot website? There are a whole lot of other recipes there that you can look. I mean, and we had a presentation about that when I was with Cabot, and how you have to be real. You can't write as if you are from the company. You have to write as if you were just another person in on this little info. But they're making money on blogs.
That's a credibility thing. I mean, you know how you feel when you read something and it's a blatant ad. You just kind of go, not interesting, you know. So you have to sort of hide it. I don't know. That's more of a marketing function. I think of that as marketing, and you know. But hey, these days you do what you got to do to make money as a writer or a information producer. Let's see. I pretty much covered everything.
What about queries? when you were getting queries from Southern Living, are there any golden rules that you looked for when somebody would send you a query for a story?
Well, honestly, I didn't realize that I was unusual, but I was. I have since discovered in that I responded to people. I mean, I always, sent a notice back to them that, yeah, this is something that might be of interest and I'm holding on to it if it's okay with you, and I'll be in touch later, or I'm sorry, but this really doesn't fit, or, whatever. I would give them some kind of response. And I can't tell you how many times I have pitched people and I've never heard a word, nothing, and it's very frustrating. I didn't realize that that was unusual. But what I would say is don't bug them. They are very, very busy people. Do not call them.
Even after a certain period of time?
After that, I was about to say that. First of all, are y'all familiar with Writer's Market and the research ways you can find out online or in they have them in the libraries. You can find out who to contact and make sure you're contacting the right person. Look at the magazine, and unfortunately it's changing every week. I mean, if you looked at Southern Living's masthead right now, next week it's going to be different. But do the best you can in targeting the right person. And then usually in this day and age, I can't imagine anybody preferring snail mail, but I guess there may be a few. Usually they want email because it's easy to respond to. And if you're unsure of their sex, if you don't know by their name, Corey, for instance, you don't know if it's a male or a guy, I would say their whole name. I'd say, dear Corey, whatever his name is, because I wouldn't say Ms. or Mr. And I don't know if I would say first name. It's probably okay to use their first name, but just in case, I'd say both, and get to it immediately, whatever your story idea is. Don't say, I'm writing you about so-and-so. They know you're writing them, so you don't need to use unnecessary words. Think carefully about every word that you're putting on that paper, because you want it to be one page. You want it to go over that. Even one page printed out, and it's going to stay one page, and say what your story is, and think of something that it makes it, really stand out. Something that, what's the most interesting thing? And somebody told me once, when you come home from an interview, what's the part that you tell your spouse about the interview you just had? That's the most interesting part of the story. That's what you want to start with. It's probably the thing that you chose from all the stuff that's swimming around in your head, the thing that you told, your significant other about that interview. And that's probably what you want to lead your query with, too. And then, in the next, last part of the second paragraph or whatever, then you say why you personally are so the best person to write this article, because you have this qualification to do it, whatever it is. If you have one, don't make it up, but if there's something that makes you stand out as the person to do it.
And how long would you say you'd wait before you send a follow-up?
I don't know. That's a toughie because it just varies. Do you have a time frame?
I think a month.
Yeah, I was thinking a month. Maybe a month. And maybe start with another email.
And never call more than once.
Yeah.
Just once. Just making sure you got my query. I'm not pressing you to make a decision. I just wanted to make sure that you got it arrived.
That you got it. That it arrived at the right
So
person.
if you send a query by email, you should do a follow-up by email?
I think so, at first. And then maybe you wait a week or so. If you don't get any kind of response from that, then you might call and say, I know how busy you are, and I'm really, not trying to bother you, but I did send 2 emails and just wondered, and usually they were all apologetic, I'm so sorry, it's just been so crazy. Yeah, I got that, or, can you send it again? That's usually the thing. Can you send it again?
They don't want to spend time going back and looking for it.
Yeah. And apparently most editors are just not that organized. I was organized. I kept up with things. I don't, because I always felt like, there's nothing that says that I won't be doing what these guys are doing. I never felt like, I always felt very fortunate and very lucky that I had that position. So, One more thing, just in terms of writing. If nobody said that they weren't interested in writing a book, but this is Publishers Marketplace. If you are, you can join that. It's $20 a month. You can drop it at any time. There's no contract to it. You are allowed to post a profile thing like this, which I did, and I got like 6 responses right away from people who wanted me to write their book or at least talk to them about it.
Publishers Marketplace is only for books, not magazines or anything
I'm
else?
not sure. I've only looked at it in terms of books. I think it's just books, but you might check that out. I don't know. But anyway, so they have contacted me because of this. I didn't choose to go with any of those or even pursue them because I didn't think it was lucrative. This is the book cover of the book I've been working on for the past year, which came about as a fluke. It's, again, who you know, and I didn't know these people at all. What happened was these people had, this is, I don't know if any of you saw the movie Charlie Wilson's Floor, it was a while back, but Julia Roberts' character is this lady. And they had been working with another writer who had, Joanne, this is Joanne Herring, wanted to write her memoir, but she's not a writer, so they needed to hire a co-writer. And if you're like me, you didn't know the difference between a co-writer and a ghostwriter. I didn't know. Ghostwriter means you don't get any kind of credit. A co-writer means you do, right? Buy one. And they were looking for somebody to co-write her book, and they hired someone who put together the book proposal and wrote 3 chapters and got them a publishing contract. And then, for whatever reason, they didn't pursue that. And so they were looking for another writer, and they were going through lots and lots and lots of people. And, you know, I was not in any way, shape, form, or fashion a book author. But they Googled me, and they were looking for a Southerner because they wanted somebody that understood the Southern sensibility because, you know, they didn't feel like authors or writers in New York would understand what growing up in Texas was like. And then they were also looking for somebody who was a Christian because she's a Christian and that's a big, big part of her life. And I had written a piece for the Lutheran magazine, because I'm Lutheran, about Afghanistan. And it was after 9/11, and I wrote a little story for that, a $100 story, which I just felt moved to write, and it wasn't about the money, it was just, I just wanted. Well, they Googled me, and they found, oh, she worked for Southern Living, so she's probably Southern. Oh, she's a Christian because she wrote for the Lutheran magazine. Let's call her and see if she would do it. And I'm like, out of the blue, I get this email from these people saying, you know, would you be interested in co-writing her book? And I'm like struggling to make any money in writing. And I'm like, well, of course I would. Certainly I would be glad to do that, you know. So that's how that came about. And this is supposed to be published in 2011. And I've been working on it for about a year. And so I haven't really pursued much of anything else during this year. But
And this woman is 80 years old, and that's not,
that was taken this year. She's
not
81.
A photoshopped picture.
It's nothing like when I met her in person. It's nothing like being intimidated physically by an 80-year-old. You're like, oh man, I look terrible.